Alright, so just kind of expanding on some of the things I came across while working on the food review app. And the first thing is the search feature. I've concluded that using a SQL database is a much better idea than a NoSQL database like Mongo or Firebase in this case. That's because if we type in something like steak houses, right? But let's say the user just types in the word steak, not the full word, then it'll show no results, and that's because Firebase actually does not have any feature where you can add like a kind of like a wildcard on either side of the value of the search value. Whereas SQL actually does have a feature like that, and it's going to be this little percent symbol right there. So for an example, in the docs right here, the example that they used, if you put the percentage sign before and after this word computer, then it's actually going to search for any record that has the word computer anywhere in the title. And it doesn't matter if there's no characters or extra characters before or after the keyword. So in our example right here, when we type in steak, even though it's not the full steak houses like this actual category, it wouldn't really matter because SQL would be able to find any matching record after the word steak. So in the backend, it would be like this, and then steak houses would still pop up as a result, instead of just having to have an exact match from Firebase like so. So another thing that I've been working on is actually the filters for the search results. So if we go here, and I'm just doing American because it has the most results and I can kind of show how the filters work best. So if we look at the initial results of this keyword that we search for, we come up with these 6 restaurants. And if we toggle one of these filters, then it'll work like so, which is really nice. This was actually kind of a mission when working with multiple filters being toggled at the same time. If it's just one of them like that, then it's a lot easier to work with. But I mean, it's not that it's hard, like it's not that it's really complicated, like hard to figure out how to work with multiple filters. It's just that the code was getting really long, like the functions to process the several or the multiple filters. And I was trying to figure out a way to write a function that would be more dynamic, like a dynamic function, so I can just use that same one but toggle multiple different kinds of filters. So initially I had written a separate function for each of the filters. So the price filter component would have its own function, and the rating component would have its own function. And then when I realized that it would just be redundant code, I was trying to find a way to maybe write something that would be more dynamic, so I can just use the same function and then just pass in like the key value pair for the query string and the value right here. That's what I eventually did right here. Just a handle filter function that takes in the key value pair, and then I use a switch statement to check like what kind of key was passed in. So if it's price, then obviously it's going to handle just the price filter right there. And then for rating, I use the same function, but then I'm passing in the key rating and the value, and then the switch statement will be able to recognize which of the filter to modify. Basically, using this method, I was able to get the values of any query strings in my URL. So anytime a user would search for something, right here you'll notice that this is the path name. This is the original path name, and then anything after a question mark would be considered like a query string, just kind of like to filter out, like to filter through results more specifically. And the initial search is just American, and then that would be either a name or a category. That's how I set up the search bar right here. And using the filters, every time you click on something, it'll append another query string like so. So like that, it'll be price to, and then rating and rating right there. And then if you uncheck, it just removes it, as you can see right here. But I didn't really use the URL search params back then, or I would process the data in the app and then just display the results on the page without worrying too much about appending these queries into the URL. Because technically it still works. Like, I don't have to append these queries into the URL. I can still make the filters work fine just without it. But I guess like the better practice is to actually have these query strings in the URL. But one of the downsides to using Firebase with, you know, searching and filtering is that it's relatively limited. So if we do something like this, let's say we do coffee. For all we know, there could be a place that has the word coffee in the business name, or it could be just a category of coffee itself. And since I technically have two separate conditions where it can be either or. So like with the word coffee, I'm looking for a restaurant that has the word coffee in its name, or it could be just a coffee in the categories for that restaurant. And the way Firebase is set up is a little bit different. I actually had to create two separate query references, one separating the name and one separate with the categories. I'm actually not able to combine them into just one query, whereas a SQL database you can. And it's not the end of the world because I had to create two separate queries, but it's just an extra step that I have to do at the end. Because once I have the data fetched from both of these queries, I then have to combine those two results into the array at the very end and then return the results. But if I use SQL, then I can just use like an OR operator, or like the OR comparison operator, and then do both name, find where like the name equals to the search value, in this case coffee, or have any restaurants that have the word coffee in their categories. But that's where this approach gets a little bit weird from this point on, when I have to use any filters to search through the database, because that means for example, like if I'm filtering through the ratings or through the price and the ratings, and that means I have to create two separate queries, just like the original search function, and I have to add the same filters for both of them. And it just gets like a little bit, you know, I don't know, I just feel like it's really redundant. Like I shouldn't have to do something like that, but I mean, given the limitations of Firebase, I mean, this is what I kind of have to do. Still, it's been pretty good overall, besides the little differences of the, you know, fetching through the database and filtering through the results and searching, of course. Obviously, when it comes to the design aspect, I'll be updating that little by little as time goes on, but I just want to get all of the functionality of this app down first. Besides this, I've also been working on, you know, my classwork and the additional studying in Java for that potential job opportunity once the semester's over. So like like this whole thing right here, I've been going through all of the fundamentals of Java and testing out like all the basic features and everything right here. I've just been following a video on YouTube, a really good video actually. It's from a YouTuber called Brocode, and he has a bunch of different videos on fundamentals of a variety of programming languages like Python and Java and C++ and others. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing for the past week, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be doing the same thing for the foreseeable future. But until next time, peace.